So today, what are we going to do, Sarvin?
Bread.
Okay, let's do the bread thingy.
What do you mean the bread thing?
Bread thing. What kind of bread do you want to?
Okay, so we have a fresh batch of
Carambola.
Carambola, yes, carambola. Well, how did I forget? The only thing I thought of was starfruit, which is another name for it. But anyway, we have a fresh batch of carambola yeast water, and we're going to be making some homemade crusty artisan bread with it. I mean, look at this. Isn't it gorgeous? And I wish you could feel it. It's really crusty. It's delicious too.
Okay, let's do it now.
Let's do it. Let's do it now. Gentle with this. I'm not gonna roughly toss it around. Just gently fold it, just like this. So basically you just wanna get everything hydrated. There should be no dry spots of flour. Just like this. Take a look. At this point, everything seems to be well hydrated and it looks right. So I think this is enough. I'm just gonna do one final mix, check for anything left. Right, there's nothing. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna cover it and leave it to rest for 8 to 12 hours. And that was our Poolish. Easy, right? Okay, so the Poolish has sat overnight and it's ready to use. I mean, look at all these bubbles. See how there are so many gorgeous bubbles, and it's grown in size too since the last time we saw it. It's just revving to go. So in this large mixing bowl, thank you, I've added 350 grams of bread flour. Okay, now I'm gonna scrape our Poolish in using this spatula. So just get a close-up of that. That looks amazing. Check that out, check those formations out. Okay. We're going to scrape in our Poolish, just like this. There we go. I also have 80 milliliters of water. I'm going to use a little bit of it to clean out the Poolish bowl. We want to get every last bit of this. Okay, I ended up using all of it. Okay, now I'm just going to pour it all in. There we go. Then finally, from the same yeast water we stored in the fridge, I'm going to take out 100 milliliters of it. Okay. There we go. 100 milliliters of it. Close this up. We can still use this for another batch. Right? I'm just going to pour that in. And using this spatula, we're just going to fold those ingredients over themselves just like this. There's no need to be too rough with this. Just use a medium, gentle amount of force. We want to continue folding until all the flour is hydrated. So this isn't ready yet, because as you can see there's a lot of loose flour hanging around. We want to bring all of that in. Okay, so we're done with our spatula now, and we're going to turn it out onto our surface. For this part, I'm going to let Navita do it, because my finger is still healing. Okay, it's out of the bowl. We're now going to knead the heck out of this dough. Using this motion, stretch forward, then scrape it back, and repeat for 10 to 15 minutes. The dough will go from sticky and barely workable to elastic and much more attractive. So here it is after 13 minutes. As you can see, it looks done. It's a lot more elastic and much more attractive looking. So now we're going to stop kneading. Now, prepare the bowl the dough is going to rest in by oiling it. This is sunflower oil that we're using, but you can use any vegetable oil. Make sure to get all the sides, every nook and cranny. Then pick up the dough with the 2 scrapers and place it into the bowl. After we've placed the dough into the bowl, we're now going to cover it to keep it moist and leave it for 20 minutes. You can leave it for anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes depending on your local weather. When the time's up, we'll lightly flour our surface and grab our dough. It's grown a bit in the time we left it, so the first thing we're going to do is degass it by patting it down. Degassing is meant to get rid of some of the air pockets inside the dough for a more even crumb structure. After degassing, we're going to fold it. This will help our dough develop a better gluten structure. Start by slowly spreading it out, just a little bit. We don't want to have the dough ripping. Then fold it into itself like this. Sideways first. And then the top and bottom sides. Now we're going to place it back into the bowl, just like that. We're going to cover it again and leave it for another 20 minutes. Okay, now that we've left it for 20 minutes, the dough is ready. Let's lightly flour our surface again. It should detach easily and without much trouble. We're now going to divide it into 4 equal parts. We're going to use our scraper and just chop straight through, aiming to get as clean a cut as possible. We don't want to destroy any more gluten strands than we have to. And we get 4 lovely pieces. Then, starting with this one, we're going to degass them. So we're going to use the same medium amount of force as before and just pat it down. On to the next step, we're going to be pre-shaping it. This is going to lend some extra strength to the dough and also prepare it for the final shaping. We want to shape them into boules, so we're going to round them by grabbing their edges and pulling them into the center, making a seam. This is to build tension on the dough's smooth side below. This tension will really help it hold its shape together. Then we further round it in a circle. After we've rounded it in a circle, we're going to cover it with a bowl. Just like that. And we're going to repeat it for the next 3, flouring as necessary. When we're done with all of them, we're going to let them rest again, but for a shorter period of time. So let them relax for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, this is what they should look like. We are now going to be shaping them. This is where their final shape will be fully formed. In this case, I'm going to be shaping them into boules, which is just a round ball shape. Start by again degassing them. And then we're going to do the same thing as before, tugging at the edges, bringing them into the center, making that seam. Except we're going to be doing a bit more of it now to build more tension in the smooth side. Add flour as necessary. Keep pulling it in, really building that tension. And again, rounding them in a circle. When we're done with that, it's time to move on to the next step, the final proof. So, I've got a piece of cloth, I'm going to lay it over the bowl, and then sprinkle it with flour generously. Then place the boule into it seam side up. Repeat these steps for the remaining 3 boules. Now that all of them are in their proofing bowls, we're going to dust their tops with a light layer of flour. Then close their cloths over them, and further seal it with a plastic cover. Then we're going to leave them and come back in 30 minutes. Depending on your weather conditions, you could leave them for up to 45 minutes. Okay, the final proof is done. We're now going to get ready to bake them. First thing we need to do is preheat the oven to 230 degrees Celsius. While the oven preheats, we're going to be scoring the boules. Prepare some baking paper for the boules to sit on. Then, we'll start the scoring process. Begin by dusting a light layer of bread flour on top of the boules. Then, gently pat it evenly over them. This will also brush off any excess flour. Now we score it. The key to scoring is to be quick and decisive. If you score too slowly or aren't decisive enough, it won't look as good. Just like this. Okay, so all the boules are ready now. So we're going to place them onto our baking tray. Then place them into the oven. Now, while this is the baking solution that worked for us, you can use almost any other oven-proof baking container. So, for example, you could use a glass casserole dish, a Pullman pan, or in a Dutch oven. The key is just to keep the steam inside that container while the bread bakes in the beginning. That steam is what's really working wonders for the bread and giving that crusty outer layer. So we're going to bake for 25 minutes with the lid on, and then 20 minutes with the lid off. And we're done. So these guys are straight out of the oven. We've left them on the wire rack to cool for a bit before we cut them because it's not good to cut it while they're still hot. But we can check their crust. Listen to that, that's a nice sound. And tap on their bottoms, knock on their bottoms. This should sound hollow. And it does. And we can also test for the crispiness. You hear that? It's so nice. This is good.